Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Godforsaken Customs. Currently in Pocahontas, and we're checking out the old mine town that used to be here. Amazing how nature can reclaim what used to be a town, because now there's foundations of buildings which, well, the place was closed down in the early 1900s and now there's nothing left. There's just foundations of buildings in the woods here. You can't hardly see anything of what was here. I mean, there's a few spots open like that they've left so you can see them, but everything else is so grown in, it's insane. There's a lot of history tucked away. But yeah, it's just amazing how nature does reclaim these. But yeah, Emma's just spotted a building up there. But nature is totally reclaiming every last piece of this. Well, I know we don't usually do this, but a bit of history for you. Pocahontas was the company town for Jasper Park Collieries Limited, which began to mine coal here in 1910. The town was named after a very successful coal town in Virginia, but did not share the same success. The company closed the mine in 1921 when it could no longer compete for a share of the coal market. And since then, the mine entrances have been closed and the buildings have either been moved away or destroyed. Overgrown trails and foundations are all that remain. For 10 years, this closely knit community was home to miners and their families, who lived in small 3- and 4-room cottages with modern electric lighting but fetched water from faucets in the streets. Single miners lived in a boarding house and children went to a private 1-room school paid for by the miners' wages. Pocahontas and his families are long gone, but now the mountain wilderness that surrounded them remains, preserved now and for the future in Jasper National Park. You can tell it's not too hard because of the concrete and rebar, but it's really hard to believe this was built just 100 years ago, but the winters, I suppose, are pretty hard out here. You see the marks from all the old shuttering they used? That's pretty cool. There's all like wall ties in here too. What did they have tying that? This wall runs. But if this was a power station, we were out here wondering whether it was water or they were burning coal. You know, obviously they were mining coal, so I can't see why they wouldn't be burning it. They probably stood inside someone's house right now. And the trails are coal here. That's crazy. No wonder wildfires are a thing. Look, you got like pine needles and coal. So we saw what we could see, and now the sun's coming out. It was cold and wet this morning. We're all dressed up for winter again, and now the sun's coming out. We're going to head back to the truck, get changed, and there's a waterfall we're going to go and walk to see in a bit. As you can tell, we can't keep us out of the mountains for too long. We're back here, we're in Jasper National Park and we're just taking a trail. We're actually camping in Pocahontas tonight, which is a pretty magical place to stay. We're heading on a trail that's going to take us down to the Punch Bowl Falls just before it gets dark, and yeah, let's get going and see what we can see. Well, that's going to be about it for our Pocahontas video. Just doing some editing this evening. Well, we have had quite the eventful evening, but before we get into that, we met a guy called Corey on the way up here. We stopped in a town called Hinton to get some gas, and he came along and started speaking to us, and I didn't know why to start with, but he'd seen the Ruser bike on the back of the truck, and he wants to build the same thing. So like, that thing has been a major talking point. We've had people all the way across country, well, since Manitoba, commenting on it, and telling us how cool it is. Yeah, Corey gets to telling us about Pocahontas too. He basically asked where we're going, and we said, oh, we've got a rough idea of going to Pocahontas, and he recommended a trail to us. Unfortunately, we haven't had time to do that because we've been doing all of this today. Whether or not we'll get round to it in the morning, I don't know, but it sounds like it's a pretty steep climb, and you know, whether we'll get round to it or not, I don't know yet. But we've had a good day. Pocahontas is a beautiful place. Staying in Pocahontas campsite tonight. It's stopped raining now, but it has been raining on and off this evening. But at one point you were cooking dinner.
I was.
And I decided to take the garbage down to the garbage bins down there. And leave Emma on her own. We're on a fully fledged campsite. There's people everywhere, like hundreds and hundreds of people. This campsite's full. And obviously they're giving us the bear warnings on the way in. We listen to them every time, and every single one's slightly different, and the reason we listen to them every time is because that little bit of difference each time really does, you know, help add to your knowledge and your understanding of the situation. But at any rate, there's people everywhere walking around, nobody's paying any attention to anything, so I grab the garbage, walk on down to the bin, and as I get down there, there's a little old lady coming back with a washing up. And she says, "There's a bear down there." And you know, it took a second to register, and obviously she'd seen a bear standing in the woods, but I just walked round the corner to meet her, and as soon as the bear saw me, he just shot off straight off into the woods the other side. But needless to say, some other people saw it at the same time, and the campsite fired off, and the ranger had to start driving around and whatever else. People were blowing the whistles, and there's loads of people just walking around with nothing. No bear spray, no anything, just flip-flops, yeah, going out to see if they can see this bear. But at any rate, you know, so that's the first bear we've seen on campsite, even though it is a fully legit campsite, and, you know, we do usually camp out in the woods. So that was quite an exciting experience. I turned around pretty quick and came back to let Emma know because it was heading her way, but he must have just shot off straight into the woods and that. But I wouldn't want to have been one of the people in the tents that night, that's for sure. Oh, yeah. Bear would make light work of this truck, let alone a tent, so... But there are people down there grilling whole pigs. You know, it's ridiculous what people take out when they go camping. These people with the big RVs and that, they really do live the life of luxury.
It smelled good.
Yeah, it did. You know, like all type of barbecues and this, that and the other going on. There's no wonder a bear wanted to come down and smell and, you know, actually try and get some food down there. But luckily, bear didn't want anything to do with anybody. He was in a rush to get out of there. He obviously realised he was in the wrong place and he was gone. But Pocahontas, the mining town, got us to thinking, you know, like I've been interested in the gold rush and cowboys and whatever else since a kid. I used to watch the cowboy movies and this, that and the other. So anything like this is particularly exciting to me. And it's got us thinking, you know, all the way across country we've been thinking about the original settlers and, well, even the original people of this land. We've driven nearly 9,000 kilometers now, and we've had some issues with the truck, and at points it's been an absolute nightmare, but the original people of this land were absolutely travelling from here to there to everywhere, on foot, on horse, with nothing. And equally the original settlers of this land came and did the same thing. So we, in comparison to them, are horrendously well equipped. It does make us feel better, but it's got us thinking about the next spot we're going to go to. So we want to head into BC, back into the mountains, and we want to start looking at some of the gold rush locations. Obviously, everywhere through Williams Lake, up through Quesnel, all the way up. You know, if we ever made it to the Yukon, that would be fantastic, but I just don't think we can afford to do that right now. But at any rate, we picked up a little gold panning set the other day to go with our fishing rod and other things, and it keeps us, you know, to keep us entertained along the way. And yeah, we're going to be heading out to Prince George, Quesnel, all of these places. Didn't think we were going to make it happen, but we're just going to make it happen. It's one of those things. We're not missing out on that. And yeah, there's a few places we'd like to stop along the way. Mount Robson Provincial Park's one of them. It's the tallest mountain in the Rockies is there, and it's like the second oldest provincial park. But we'll be taking the Yellowhead Pass, and Yellowhead Pass, Tête Jaune, was named after a Yellowhead Iroquois guide. I believe he was a fur trapper, and he actually led the original settlers up through and whatever else. But anyway, I'm just rambling on about a whole load of stuff. We're sat in the back of the truck. I got to finish this video. Huge love. Thanks for coming with us once again. I hope you enjoyed Pocahontas as much as we did. It was a really magical place. And yeah, we'll catch you all on the next one. Cheers.